Welcome to Office Hours with Iyabo Season 2. Episode 11, Leading at the Table, Authority, Presence, and Influence Introduction. There comes a moment in every founder's journey when the work is no longer just about building a business. It becomes about leading people, leading conversations, leading decisions, leading rooms, and more importantly, leading at the table. Not just sitting at the table, not just being invited into the room, but having the ability to shape what happens in that room. In this episode of Office Hours with Iyabo, we're talking about something deeper than strategy. We're talking about authority, presence, influence, because building a company will require your effort, but leading it will require who you become. Part 1. What it really means to lead at the table. Many people misunderstand leadership. They think leadership is about titles, CEO, founder, director, but real leadership is not about position. It's about weight, the ability to enter a room and shift direction, to speak, and people listen not because they have to, but because they trust your thinking, to make decisions that others are willing to follow. This idea is explored in the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, where leadership is defined not by title, but by influence, and influence is earned, not announced. So leading at the table means you are not just present, you are impactful. Part 2. Authority. The foundation of leadership. Authority is often misunderstood. It is not dominance. It is not control. True authority comes from clarity and competence. When you understand your business deeply, when your thinking is structured, when your decisions are grounded, people begin to trust your leadership. This is something you can observe in leaders like Ryan Coogler when he directed films like Black Panther. He wasn't the loudest voice in the room, but he had clarity, vision, and a deep understanding of the story he wanted to tell. That clarity created authority. Part 3. Presence. How you show up. Presence is not about being the most talkative person in the room. It is about how you carry yourself, how you listen, how you respond, how you hold space. Some leaders speak constantly, but are rarely heard. Others speak rarely, but when they do, the room shifts. This idea connects with executive presence, which describes presence as a combination of gravitas, communication, appearance, but at its core, presence is about confidence without noise. You don't need to dominate the room, you need to anchor the room. Part. For influence, the true currency of leadership. Authority is what earns respect, and presence is how you show up. Then influence is the ability to move people into action. This is where leadership becomes real. Because leadership is not just about ideas, it is about execution through people, in how to win friends and influence people. One of the key lessons is that influence comes from understanding people, not controlling them. Great leaders know how to communicate vision clearly, align people with purpose, create trust. This is why leaders like Bartlett have built influence beyond their businesses. They communicate ideas in a way that people connect with. Part 5. The inner work of leadership. Leading at the table is not just about external skills. It is about internal work, because the biggest limitation a founder will face is not the market, it is their own mindset. This is something explored in mindset. If you don't believe you belong in the room, you will shrink in the room. If you doubt your voice, you will hesitate to speak. If you fear judgment, you will avoid influence. Leadership requires internal confidence before external authority. Part 6. A personal reflection. There was a time when I sat in rooms where I knew I had value to add, but I didn't always speak. Not because I lacked ideas, but because I was still growing into my voice. And over time, I realized something. No one hands you authority, you build it. No one gives you presence, you develop it. No one assigns you influence, you earn it. And the moment you stop waiting for permission is the moment your leadership begins to expand. Part 7. The discipline behind great leaders' leadership is not personality, it is discipline. This is something we see in founders like Beverley, who built her brand and companies through consistency and clarity, or even in leaders like Elon Musk, whose influence comes from bold decision-making and long-term vision. Different styles, different personalities, but the same principle. Clarity plus conviction plus consistency equals influence practical. Exercise for the week this week. I want you to reflect on 3 questions. Where do I currently lack confidence when speaking or leading? What knowledge or preparation would strengthen my authority? How can I show up with more intentional presence in my next meeting or conversation? Then do something simple in your next meeting. Speak once with clarity, not perfectly, not loudly, but intentionally, because leadership grows through action. Closing. At the table is not about being the loudest voice, it is about being the most grounded, the most clear. The most aligned, because in the end, leadership is not about control, it is about influence with responsibility, and the founders who truly scale are not just building companies. They are becoming leaders who can shape rooms, guide people, and carry vision forward. Outro. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Office Hours with Iyabo. If you are building, leading, or growing into your next level, I hope this conversation gives you clarity and confidence. Until next time, keep building, keep leading, and keep becoming. Welcome to Season 2 of Office Hours with Iyabo, where every setback is a setup for your next success. Let's stop building to impress and start building what lasts. I'll see you next Monday. Subscribe now and join me next Monday, same time, same space, for another powerful session to fuel your week as a founder.